Hi, I'm Bob Lederer, and welcome to Pharma Research Video Report, where pharmaceutical, biotech, healthcare, and medical device market researchers come for news, insights, and commentary about their field that they just won't find anywhere else. Let's get started. We've talked over and over again in recent PRVRs about healthcare apps, but the field may truly be ready to explode because of the presence of two giant new players. Google is going to announce Google Fit at this coming week's Google I/O 2014 conference for developers. Google Fit is going to thereby be entering the same fitness tracking market and health app market that will also soon feature Apple and its mHealth product to be called HealthKit. That's going to be aligned with Apple's new iPhone platform and software. Seeking Alpha's superb backgrounder on these developments is available through a link that we are including in our email to subscribers. It's also in the content box beneath today's video. Google is also ready to launch Android Wear that will extend Android OS to wearable devices and enable users to set personal exercise goals that include reminders and fitness summaries. Earlier this year, you'll recall that Google unveiled its plan to bring out a contact lens that monitors glucose levels in tiers. It will not be available for at least another year or two. Moving on, the biopharmaceutical industry hoped against hope that it would receive some concrete guidance from FDA about what companies need to be doing in their social media interactions. Alas, that did not happen when the FDA finally spoke out on the subject last month, and it's leaving a lot of companies very disappointed. Attorney John Osborne, who focuses on the pharma and healthcare industries, wrote about this for Forbes.com, and in his commentary, he put great weight behind a remark from Jeremy Mean, a UK official who works with the British Medicines and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency. Mean noted about the FDA, quote, that its culture and history suggests it is simply not willing to engage with industry in a collaborative effort to wrestle with the ambiguities presented by technological advances, end of quote. Writing for himself, Osborne said FDA seems determined to put the genie back in the bottle, as if it would make every utterance by a drug or device company subject to scrutiny to determine if it is outside the agency-approved indication or indications. And next, Toluna Regional Vice President Bob Lightman, who's been dealing with the research needs of pharmaceutical companies just about longer than any other person in the field. So we spoke with him recently about current market trends, and we asked him in some cases to give us a historical perspective of where the industry has come from, where it is today, and where it might be going in the future. Bob, when you sit down with your bosses on occasion and they ask you, what are the major issues that you're having in dealing with your pharmaceutical research clients, are there a handful that kind of jump up immediately that are blatantly obvious?
Well, sure. One certainly is we live in a world with a lot of new technologies that are very useful in terms of research and market research and widely adopted in the consumer world and relate, among other things, also to going to where people are and finding them and where they are over time. And our consumer side of our business is been able to sell and see a lot more of that used by consumer market researchers than healthcare market researchers. Mm-hmm. I think it's explainable, but that's kind of a wonder to our management. Why does it happen? The reticent. I'm sorry, go on.
But the problem, it would seem to me, is getting a pharmaceutical research department both to even consider, much less adopt, these new technologies. And it probably has a lot to do with structurally what goes on in the industry. I mean, it would seem to me that you might very easily be able to convince them that doing an online focus group like what you and I are basically doing now in a one-to-one might make a lot of sense and might be easy to do, but for them there are things that are really going on in the background in the way the business is run and such that really don't make it all that feasible.
Well, I think it's the barriers are less whether it can be executed than whether it's something that people are comfortable with and have seen work and know will work, and it violates their kind of history of what they've been doing, and it's tough to get them to leap from
Right.
what they're comfortable with to
Okay.
something new.
What's going on with sample and the demands that a company like yours has to provide what they need?
Well, the right now the sample itself is available. There's still pretty good response rates from medical professionals and from patients. But if you think about it over time, people have moved ultimately from online to face-to-face interviews. Face-to-face to phone interviews to online interviews. That's not going to be where the world's going. History's not going to end. So things like mobile interactions, doing focus groups, doing online communities. These are things that are kind of the places where people will be over time, and I think we've got to move. We've got to be prepared to continue to move with the times as we have in the past. And healthcare, as you know, Bob, has been slower on pretty much all of those shifts than other industry sectors.
All research departments are under price pressures, but are you also being asked and expected to deliver a greater number of low incidence type individuals for studies?
Well, I think the price pressures here have gotten, there's kind of a good and a bad way in which they can play out. They've gotten out of line a bit. Certainly the expectations have gotten, there was been a price war, and they've gotten to the point where they're dangerous, I think, and expecting very low incidence medical professionals at high, long lengths of interview at very low prices in a very short time. That's not a good combination. And but it is a common request. So the good news, I would say, is that the price pressures are pushing people to at least consider some of the new technologies, online focus groups, online communities, things like that. They are in fact less expensive. So maybe we're pushed a bit for the right reasons, pushed a bit for the wrong reasons into some new directions that may be useful.
Okay. And I'm curious about the larger pharmaceutical research companies that you deal with. Are some of them more focused on consumers, others less or more focused on physicians, rather than kind of a homogeneous situation across the industry?
Well, in terms of the market research companies, there are more specialists and fewer generalists, and that is a structural issue. It's actually a very good point. You've got those that are focused on consumers, those that are focused on medical professionals, those that are focused on one phase of the process, and there are a few that are focused on both groups, and that makes the sort of I think very important attention to the interaction between patients and doctors less likely to happen.
But at the pharmaceutical companies themselves, are there some that are really transitioning much more aggressively to understanding patients than perhaps some of the others are?
Yes, I think it's definitely if you look at, you've got sort of also two kinds of companies. You've got kind of the long-standing big companies, and you've got a lot of the newer biotech and the like companies, and the ones that have been around for a long period of time, maybe a little bit slower, but some of them are moving forward more quickly. It's certainly highly variable at this point in time.
So the biotechs you just mentioned are more oriented towards, which way?
I would say on the one hand, it's a little bit in two directions. There are people within those companies who are very open to almost anything. they don't have a long-standing history of doing work in a certain way for a very long period of time. On the other hand, a lot of the products are more expensive. They still, talk about the size of the molecule and things like that, but that tends to lead them to focus more on the medical professionals than one might expect.
If you'd like to get in touch with Bob, I'm sure he'd love to hear from you, and his email is bob.lightman@toluna.com. That's this week's Pharma Research Video Report. And by the way, we are looking for sponsors. So if you've been locked out of sponsorship opportunities at the Research Business Daily Report that we produce Monday through Thursday, and you're in the pharma, healthcare, biotech, and medical device research sectors, here's a chance to make your mark on our videos. A few completed PRVR tests are showing that we're attracting a good-sized audience that is growing, and there is substantial curiosity from it about research options. The new Pharma Research Video Report is also now available in the cloud for those of you who can't view YouTube in your place of work. And you can also download our new mobile app that works on iPhone, iPad, and iPod Touch, and thereby you can view Pharma Research Video Report wherever you happen to be at any time. With many ways to view our new video report and the fact that it is free, we hope that you will share the video with your friends and peers in the business. And we hope that you'll have a great research week.